Are you getting anything? Or can you hear me?
No, I can't hear anything. That's why I raised my hand.
Yeah, I tried texting them, but I didn't get an answer.
No, he's not muted. This isn't audio. Okay. I think I'm gonna try reopening the meeting on the screen and see if I can figure out how to get this to work. No, leave meeting.
While Amy is doing that, we've got.
Hey, Amy, Amy, we got audio now. We just don't have video.
24 vehicle trips per weekday, peak hour.
Yeah.
But you know, how many people are working or how many volunteers, and people have to make appointments. It's not as though people can just drop in.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And again, I can get basically what I put on the comments, I can get my traffic engineer to put it on the letter and just basically sign off.
Oh, that's what the problem is.
Yeah.
I see what the issue is. Okay.
Technology is fun this year.
I apologize.
People who want to be in person. Yeah. That's true. That's one of our.
That's where we should sign. It's like, I can't do that.
Okay.
The other big questions, at the beginning of the hearing were a lot about safety. Are there any, points around fire, water, safety that came up in your review that we should be considering?
No, I will say it's due mostly to the geometry of the site. Berkshire Designs, they've done a really good job of providing access around the building. The stormwater management system will do what it's supposed to do. It will, mitigate these storm events and not stay filled with water for extended periods of time, which could obviously lead to mosquito breeding and problems like that. So we didn't really see anything with the layout or, like I said earlier, fatal flaws that would necessarily pose a risk to the health and safety of the general public.
Sorry, guys.
In the meantime, other planning board members, do you have questions of either Berkshire or Time Wise?
This
Well,
should be
that's
signed.
I will open it up to some public comment, but we had a lot of public comment last time, so I'll open it up to the public comment that is only pertaining to the information that was presented tonight. We have received many letters of concern and also many letters of support at this point. So I think we'll, I think we've heard a lot of the public. So does anyone have any questions for either Berkshire Design or Town Line? Would you like to come forward, please? And we've got to share a mic. And if you can also sign in, please. Thank you.
So I am Sarah Volunteer. I live at 28 Plain Road East. I am concerned about the traffic.
You gotta get this.
Sorry.
We're really close.
I
Okay.
am concerned about the amount of traffic that we're talking about. I would say on this road, I've lived there 17 years. There's probably recording in progress.
Sorry.
15 trips a day between all the neighbors. I'm also concerned and wondering about contingencies about the building, so I'm not sure if this is place, but I am concerned about the building being completely soundproof. The fireworks we can hear from there. I have dogs. I also work 12 hours a day in medical and would like to come home to a place that I'm not listening to other dogs bark, especially at night while trying to get sleep. So I am concerned about the traffic flow and also my property and people coming on to my property, turning around, knocking on doors, figuring out where they're supposed to be. So, and I think a lot of my neighbors are.
Okay,
All right,
thank you.
Thank you.
So I believe that we will be able to hear Steve now.
Okay, Steve.
Good evening. Yes, much better.
Do you have comments or questions, Stephen?
Do I have comments or questions for the peer reviewers? Is that the question?
Yes, you had your hand up before.
Oh, if I may introduce myself, Steve Chaplin, Town Council. I raised my hand because on the Zoom feed, we were not able to hear the meeting and see the meeting, but that we're now able to hear and see. That was my comment and question.
I am so sorry. I signed in on the wrong account.
Okay, all right. Okay. So no questions or comments, right?
Quick question, just for signage, could you talk to the signage for just a minute, just to address that same concern about clarity of, there'll be a signage?
We had requested to have a sign at the entrance, the beginning of the road, which we agreed upon adding that sign. And then there's just gonna be a sign right at the entrance, which is the one that's in the plan set.
Right. And I think we'll talk about some of these in the conditions we will add. And I know that I think Stephen is being instrumental in coming up with conditions. We already started conditions and certainly took in, comment from last time to put conditions. So we'll combine that and, have that for, I think we'll, it's pretty obviously we're going to have to continue this meeting. So we will have them because I know that, we wanted to have a couple signs up, no parking. There may be a difference in the speed limit. I don't know what the speed limit is now. I think around town, what is it, 35? We should all know that. It may be 30, 35 or 40. I don't think anyone's going to be doing that. So, different things like that, adding speed limit sign. And if there's, possibly, I know there's someone who might have, don't know. I think there's someone who might be hearing impaired. So, there could be another sign that's put up on the road as well, just alerting people, for safety purposes. So we will incorporate all of that into the conditions and, we'll speak with our town attorney on that to make sure that we include all of that. Excuse me?
Our attorney. The other questions that were pretty plentiful last time were around fire safety and just safety generally. And I don't know if the fire chief or police chief have weighed in at this point.
Yeah, as far as I think the fire chief they'd done what's called the SWEP analysis and said everything was fine. And I did I met with the fire chief and the chief of police last week just to walk the road and to see and measure. And yes, it is 14 feet wide. But the chief also suggested, well, more than suggested, I think we'll have our DPW having to trim back some trees, some of the foliage that's there. And the fire chief said it's a straight shot. He doesn't have any issues with that. He signed off on that. And just to let everyone know here, we're the messengers. We're not making, we don't determine that. That's why we have experts coming in. Okay, one more public comment, yes. And once again, this is something pertaining to what was presented tonight and not to.
My name's Kamala Boucher and I live on Plain Road East. And I have a question.
You have to speak right into the mic, Kamala.
I have a question for
Thank you.
Carlos, just a very plain and obvious question. And that is, why isn't there a driveway being created from 5 and 10 to the facility to avoid all of these issues and to save the residents our quality of life? I just don't understand why another
Okay.
road isn't being built.
Carlos, I don't know if you want to address that, but you did go before the Conservation Commission, and according to DEP, that is not possible because there are extensive wetlands. I'm sorry, so Carlos, you want to continue? Right, the mic.
give me 1 second here so I can get to that. There we go. I think that have started to share. Yeah, there we go. So the reason is that there is extensive wetlands in the, this parcel looks like a hatchet. I guess this is the handle of the hatchet and this is like the head of the hatchet. So we did flag all wetlands, not just around the stream that's there and in the area that's directly to where the project's gonna be, but we also did wetland flagging along that narrow side. And there is so many wetlands, or there's a lot of wetlands through that area. So to start off with, the regulations allows us to only do 5,000 square feet of wetland, basically damage, that we can damage a wetland and then replace it somewhere else. We can't do more than that. So if we were to put a road here, we would definitely do more than 5,000 square feet of wetland removal to be able to put a road. Second thing is that there is a stream that we would need to cross. There's an existing crossing, which is Plain Road. And to cross a stream, it requires several permits, including Army Corps of Engineers and Department of Environmental Protection. Both of those permits would require us to do an alternative analysis. Basically, look at what the alternatives are that are less impactful than trying to do a new crossing over this stream. And there is already an existing crossing that is already paved, that already has a culvert that already exists. And more than likely, including the opinion of the Conservation Commission, is that they would then ask us to go to Plain Road and not do a second crossing here, if there is an existing one. So the first one is that there is extensive wetlands, as you can see here. Basically, all that area in blue it's all wetlands. And then in addition to that, we have that stream that would require a new crossing. And again, that would be a process that would require an alternative analysis, and that alternative analysis was going to tell us, well, you should go where there's already a crossing. You shouldn't be creating a new crossing if there's one that you can access through. So those are the two reasons why. Yeah.
So are you saying that it can't be done?
Can I volunteer? So I work with the Conservation Commission. I'm their administrative assistant. And we just had a submission, and it is, the DEP will ask, is there an alternative that doesn't go through the wetlands? And if there is an alternative, they will tell you to use that. And that is my experience with the DEP. If there's an
And even if
alternative to
there's-
crossing the wetland, they want you to use, they will deny your permit, basically.
Okay,
They
even
will
if
say-
there's a lot of issues around
Yes,
safety
Yes,
and.
their concern is the wetlands.
Okay, thank you.
All right. So do we have other public comment? Any other questions for Carlos? At this time, or time bond? No. Something, is it something, a new question? Okay.
Hi there, Nicole Dupree. So I had a question about, you said the fire chief signed off, so there's a statement, it's in writing somewhere, and that's accessible to us as residents.
I don't think I have it
Okay.
on me at this moment.
It's very important to me that we have a town official.
Yes, I believe it's in the packet. We have the comments, and those are posted on the website in the meeting packet.
Okay.
Um,
So there was a few things brought up here, and a big issue for us on the road is the culverts. We have two culverts, and they are consistently backed up, failing. One has required an extensive amount of work that has kind of already damaged the pavement and the quality of the road. We have a lot of icing that happens just by that disruption. So number 36 was the horizontal directional drilling. And the recommendation is there wasn't a water service design report. So I'm hoping that that's going to be reviewed as to how this is actually going to be accomplished. I'm not an engineer, I don't understand, but I would really like it to be provided in layman's terms because the road it's a mess. It's a disaster. And I just would really like to see that. The other note regarding traffic, there was nothing about crash data reported, and there is a recommendation that to review the recent 3 years of available data at Mill Village Road and 5 and 10, which is noted by the state to be a high crash site.
Right.
There are many crashes every year. And it was kind of one of the failings of Dollar General going in there was that we do not need any additional traffic at this intersection. Right now, it's not terrible because North Main has been closed, so it's alleviated a lot. That will be open again. So I know that you're saying this is a minimal amount of traffic, but even just an additional dozen cars every day are impacting this. This is a high crash site. It is not safe to be adding in any way to. And then lastly, there's no actual sound study in the site plan. I know that they say that there's reasons and that they can't generate the conditions, but I mean, I'm not an engineer. I don't site plan. I don't work for any of this, but in like a quick Google search, I could come up with brilliant sound studies for animal shelters, for dog parks with very specific information and testing data. And we've got none of that, just iPhone studies and apps to give a general idea about how the sound will impact us. And I feel like there's the science to do this. Additionally, I think as a town, we've all been duped a little bit by Treehouse and what they've told us we're all going to hear from their shows. And it hasn't been accurate. We live in a valley that has very diverse, geographical issues. And just because, a calculator on a phone tells us this is going to be the sound and what we're going to hear, I just don't trust it. So I'd really like a specific sound study.
Okay.
Thank you.
And just to let you know that Department of Transportation is looking at that intersection. They have been, and I don't know what the status of that is now, but as far as I know, it's either a traffic light or a turnaround rotary. So roundabout, I don't know, they're all different. So we'll see
Yeah.
what happens.
It's in the works for sure, and it needs to
Yeah.
happen, but it's,
Definitely.
we've been waiting on a new sidewalk on 116 from the state for 7 years, so I'm not really thinking it's going to happen
Well,
tomorrow.
everything takes time.
Yep.
There are lots of
Thank
things to
you.
address in town. Thank you. All right. Are there any other public comments? Relevant public comments? If not, anybody online? You can see, I don't see any hands up. Well, if not, I'll close the public comment for this evening and talk to the board about any comments.
So, sorry, just to follow up, and Ms. Dupree's concern about sound study is a high one, given that we've got some other things, and it is also a recommendation of the chiefs. So I think the chief is also, that's in, part of what he has, Chief Jorg has recommended.
We'll have to address that as well. Okay. Well, okay. So as far as, it seems like we're not going to resolve this tonight, obviously. I mean, you guys need some time to talk, to do that. We need to work with our town attorney in terms of any kind of conditions that need to be added to this. And let's see. I guess I'd like to hear. To continue?
I move that we continue this until our next meeting, which is it? May 12th.
May 12th.
May 12th meeting.
I'll second.
That's Rachel Blaine, public hearing. Yeah.
Emily Gaylord seconds.
Okay. Vote. Ann?
Ann Buchanan, aye.
Satu Zoller, aye.
Kathy Wetruba, aye. Emily Gaylord, aye. Andrea Leibson, aye.
Rachel Blaine, aye.
And Denise Mason, aye. At this point, we don't know whether it's at 6:30 or 7, so just take a look at the website. We've been doing 7 o'clock to allow the Finance Committee additional time because right before town meeting. It's a little crazy.
We should be good, because the finance committee will be done. It's after
Okay.
town meeting, so I think we can
It'll be more
securely
than
say
likely at
6:30.
6:30. All right, okay. Thank you to both Tyne Bond and Berkshire. We appreciate it, and sure we'll be talking. Thank you. All right.
Hmm.
And we are still in a meeting, so if you do want to talk to your neighbors, could you just do so outside the building, please? Thank you.
Unless you want to hear about our model ADU bylaws, which are pretty exciting.
Oh, I want to hear about the ADU bylaws.
Okay.
I did.
Oh, shoot, is that Kurt? Okay, moving on out. I'm waiting for the. Another one. They waving?
Sorry, we just need to continue our meeting, so if you're going to have conversations, thank you.
All right, okay, great. What happened to Christopher and Alex? Okay, all right. So we're going to move on to new business, our model ADU bylaws and ADU bylaw update. All right, I know that both Anne and Andrea were able to attend that bylaw webinar. So. Okay, there's Alex. Hey, Alex.
So Ann and I attended the webinar, which took place on March 11th. And quite interesting in that we learned there are two kinds of ADUs. And we, and we will, I would like to see the exact language that the state wants us to include, because it was confusing. There are ADUs called local ADUs that can be more than 900 square feet, but that protected use ADUs may not be over 900 square feet. And municipalities, I think, can, I think we have to have protected use, but we may not have to have local ADUs. But that was my understanding. Yeah, it's confusing. Yeah, okay, yeah.
So we were provided with a copy of the model ADU bylaw, which I think I distributed to you guys. I can distribute again. I mean,
Yeah.
for this meeting, we just put on the checklist, but I think you guys do have that whole model
Okay.
ADU bylaw.
So this is Kathy Wetruba. What is protected? Like, what is protected? What is
What
the
does
differentiation?
it's called protected, so it is, it's an ADU that may not be over 900 square
Okay.
feet. Right.
The state is mandating that you have to have ADUs, but these are the ones that are protected by the state.
Got it.
Okay.
Got it. Got it.
Mhm.
Regs. So the other ones are local, that means that we could, take local action to change those and.
Okay.
To make, we can, and also you should know, excuse me, that you can have more than one ADU on a property?
No.
No, but you could have a local, and you could have a protected.
On the
Thank you,
same
Ann.
property.
On the same property, correct. And you can't limit the number of people in an ADU. You'd need,
But you can by septic. I mean, you can, you know, you
Septic is, it doesn't septic do bedrooms?
by bedrooms, right?
Doesn't-
I see what you're saying. Okay, okay, okay. Fine.
Yeah,
I lived in a room for like that.
yeah, yeah.
I know that room.
Okay.
Interesting.
I mean, I
But
think. if-
even then, I would just push back a little bit that the protected ones and the local ones, your local regs would allow that. So it's not like the state regs are saying you have to have that. If they're just loosening it up so that you could do both.
I believe that's
Yeah.
true.
Yeah.
But we don't have to do both. And at this point, in our ADU bylaw that was approved, 2 years ago? It's 900 feet. So we don't necessarily have to add the other.
No, but the other thing that we need to do is, we need to add the definitions that the state, listed. And so that we would have to do.
Are either of those regulated by,
Oh, but,
oh, sorry.
I'm sorry.
Bob?
Yeah.
Oh, there he is.
Just the protected use says up to 900 square feet or 50% of the existing building, whichever is smaller. So if you had 1,000 square foot house, you can only have a 500 square foot ADU. So that may make you want to allow a local option for a bigger one, but that's up to you. I
If
just thought
that's
I'd
not
throw
in
that
our
in there.
current bylaws, we didn't do a 50%.
I think
No.
you said 900, just
That was
plain
what
and
we thought.
simple. As large as you could go was 900.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, we can check.
Well, it sounds like, I mean,
Look at that.
once again, I don't think we're going to solve all the ADU problems this evening. And we are so fortunate, and I don't know whether everyone has met Alex Galloway, our new planner.
Yeah.
Yes. So we're really excited because Alex
And help
will
us
be
with this.
working together on this. Yeah, so I mean, right now, I think we just have to, defer to what the state says, but we do need to fine tune our ADU bylaws.
Correct.
So we're not, I mean, at this point, it's not as though we're in non-compliance because we will just, yes. So we do have some time to do this. And since Alex has only been here, 2 weeks going on 3, we're not going to make her,
I have a quick question. Are either one of them regulated by short-term rental?
That is another thing we need to talk about at some point, very soon.
yeah, I think that's going to be something totally different from the ADU. I'm not sure.
And I'm looking.
Bob's on.
Oh, Bob.
Bob, do you know?
The town can pass a bylaw to regulate them for short-term rental, but that's all you can do. You can't regulate whether it's owner occupied, but
Right,
Mm.
right.
you can regulate short-term rental.
Oh,
Which we
okay.
did, actually.
Yeah,
Did not, we have a 30-day,
yeah, but those were done by special permit. So these protected uses are by right. So there's no mechanism, I don't think, to do that at this point.
If it's by right?
say that again?
The protected uses are by right. There's no more special permit for a protected use. So there'd be no way to condition the by right unless you had a separate bylaw
Uh-huh.
saying no short-term rentals.
Okay, so we'd have to redo that. If we
I
want-
believe so, yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll put that on the list. I know Amy has a running list.
Yeah.
Amy and Christopher have a running list of some
Concerns.
changes we need to do to our bylaws, even though we did them 2 years ago. It's something that's
Keep
always
tweaking,
changing.
Keep tweaking.
Okay. So to me, it would make sense, and I don't think this necessarily has to be the public, since it could be a working group that we could have one evening
Yeah.
just to talk about ADU bylaws,
Mhm.
which would make sense, I think.
That-
And in the meantime, maybe we'll have a conversation with Alex in the meantime, and, we could set up so we can each do some research to be prepared for that meeting, so we don't come in cold.
Mhm.
And fortunately, we already have 2 experts, Andrew and Ann, who were on the webinar.
Yeah.
And who took copious notes.
So we can set that up and you leaving so soon, Chris?
ADUs aren't compelling to you?
Just wait till, we get to the.
Okay.
Yeah, when we have that meeting, I would like to see the relevant definitions.
Yeah.
And the exact.
Yeah, I'm sorry, say that again, I can't hear you.
The relevant.
I'd like to see the relevant definitions. Which,
Relevant
Re-
definitions.
Definitions.
You're,
Bye, Chris.
And the exact wording for the
Yeah,
model bylaw.
yeah. I mean, I think there's probably a lot to do, so.
well, and also maybe just to as Mr. Cunningham's here, but to investigate our intentions just a little bit too, because we did a good job and we could pull Kathy Sylvester back in. I'm
Yes.
sure she'd be thrilled about that. But to reinvestigate the intentions of the ADU bylaw, what do we want out of it?
Mhm.
For instance, we don't want a lot of short-term rentals. We want
Well,
we want inventory, we want housing inventory, we want the opportunity for people to come back and rent an apartment in town without, I just think, and we had this last time where some of it was about revenue, people having revenue for their homes, making
Right.
revenue from their homes.
But I think given the fact that the governor said we're doing this,
Yeah.
know that our intentions are.
Well, the intentions being that if we redesign them for local, whatever it is, local as opposed to protected, then, is this
True.
an opportunity for us to at least think about it, or investigate it, even if we don't do anything about it, to take the temperature. My other question was, and Bob, do we have any ADUs that have come online? What's the actual?
We've had maybe, I think 3 total.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, but,
So it's not- yeah.
I was gonna say the protected uses are by right as of February 2nd, so that is the law now. I mean, just,
Right, no, absolutely, and it's
yeah.
not so far off of what we
Right,
kind of came
right.
up with. I don't mind that. All I'm saying is, what is happening? What are people, what are you seeing in terms of what people are bringing to you, what concerns they have?
Well, most of the obstacles are in the septic systems, because it's very, cost prohibitive in a sense.
Yep.
Is
Yeah.
there any financial or tax incentive to have an ADU, like even a local one by right? Protected ones are by right. What about local ADUs? Is there any way to promote the creation of ADUs to have an inventory for rental possibilities with some kind of tax relief or financial incentive to be able to actually even do it? That's a pricey endeavor.
Right, but the question is, sorry, Bob, but ultimately, the incentive is that you get rent. So it is a
But you
long
have to
term, it's a
rent
long, I get what you're
long.
saying, but it is maybe the, return isn't, the ROI isn't a year or 2 years, but it's still, you're getting rent.
I mean, the reason one of the reasons I ask is that we have businesses in the old pickle factory that have had 7 years of tax, abatement, so that they could get in and get going and get started without having to be crushed by, these taxes that they need to pay. So as a homeowner trying to pay their current bills and their current tax and to develop another inventory for housing, it would be there would be a greater incentive for somebody to do it if they could breathe a little bit under the tax burden of it.
As far as I recall, that was not discussed at all at the
It might be
webinar.
worth a discussion, that's all.
Yeah, I think you make a strong point.
That would be discussed at a local level, and I'm not sure, I'm assuming that it's the select board that makes the decision when businesses are coming into town. Amy? Go
Yeah,
ahead.
so I just wanted to clarify on what Bob was saying, because I sit in the office when the people come in. So the issue is, your septic is designed for the number of bedrooms in your house. Once you add a bedroom to that, you probably have to expand your septic system. And so we just had someone come in this morning saying, oh, I want an ADU. I said, are you on town water or sewer? He's on septic. And Ned explained to him looked up his septic system. I mean, because that's, $20,000-$30,000. So that's, I think, one of the big reasons why we don't have a whole lot of applications, because we don't have a lot of town sewer.
That's what I was gonna say. What happens if it's what if you are on, sorry, what if you are on town sewer?
On town, you don't have to worry about it. There's
Okay.
capacity. So that's the issue. It's if you have septic, your septic is built to the size of your house.
Yeah.
So unless you're turning an existing bedroom into an ADU, if you're adding a bedroom, that means you have to expand your septic.
Okay.
And that's, most people seem to want to add a bedroom.
I was just gonna say that not all ADUs are for rental. So I was just wondering if you have any idea what that man this morning was gonna do with his, just out of curiosity.
I think he wanted to rent.
And we allowed even before, we had for non-rental ADUs before we made our, but then those become complicated because they're not rented. And then the person who's in them leaves and then they are rented. So that was why it motivated us to start to look at regulating it, because we had a lot of unregulated rentals that were, your child grew up and grew out of the ADU, and now you have this nice apartment. And so that motivated us to regulate.
So I'm just trying to think when a good time is to do this, and this would probably be after town elections. And town meeting and town elections, so, and that'll also give Alex time to learn everything there is to know about ADUs, so she can, yeah. But we went over this last time when we were doing the ADUs. I think most of ADUs will probably be where there's town septic, and
And
there's town sewer.
And it
because-
makes sense for other reasons too, bus lines and
Exactly.
ease
I mean,
of,
it's-
ease of walking in
cost
town.
prohibitive. I thought, oh, okay, doing a Title V, putting in a new septic's about 30,000. No, it's close to 50,000, according to a friend who was looking into it. And that's a lot of money. And that is in addition to building an ADU. So you're talking, you could be talking anywhere between $200,000 and $300,000. So, once again, you've got to do what's your return on investment? How long would it take you to do that? If you're 30 years old, that may be an option. If you're 50 or 60,
Well, I think
probably
to
not worth
Anne's
it.
point, I think often they are not built as an income generator for that reason. It's a caregiving.
Yeah. Caregiving, elderly parents. Yeah. So, okay. So why don't we can revisit this conversation and determine a time after town meeting and the elections. So possibly in June, and not a regular planning board meeting. We'll come up with a different time. That's good for everyone. Okay, great. All right. So other business, Set Right Solar, did we have we gotten a report from them?
Yes, I believe that was in your meeting packet.
Okay.
Sorry. Yeah, and they did turn it in on time. I didn't even have to ask them. It just showed up.
Gold star.
That is great. That is really good. Okay, so while we're talking about that, I've noticed that Cumbies on 5 and 10 still haven't been able to address their detention pond because all of a sudden it was winter, it was frozen, now it's spring. I see a lot of it was dug up and there's a lot of standing water in there, so I don't know what's happening with that. But the reason why I'm saying that is because until they address that, they cannot do their additional, I think they wanted to do 2 additional EV chargers. Okay, so that's at a standstill. I don't know if they have to come back at any time and reapply. I'm not sure how that.
Yeah, I can look that up. I think, yeah, that's,
Okay.
but I know, yeah, that the condition was that they cleaned the riots. Oh,
Yeah,
God, my
they
memory
have to
stinks.
do that before, and so we'll find out from the Conservation Commission, but I think that's at a standstill. And then the other thing is still, is VESH, the Veterinary Emergency Services. They still haven't they haven't done the plan that we talked about. Is
Yeah,
that
I
2
believe
years?
at this point they would have to resubmit because they
Okay.
are long past. They have not, and I don't know how many months ago, maybe a year, I did write to them and ask
Right, yeah.
what their intentions
Okay.
were, and I don't think we've
Okay.
either didn't hear anything or they were just up in the air. So
Because
they haven't done their application for an extension. So anything they want to do, they need to come back to you.
And this was for the parking.
The parking lot
And so they had,
expansion.
if you go, they have big plans to expand as well, so
know.
it may be that they're just waiting for all of
Yeah,
that all at
I
once,
think-
but.
Well, they were going to expand and build, but with the political climate right now, that may be on hold anyway, because it's going
Cost
to be
prohibitive.
fairly expensive. And then we will also have to revisit, which we didn't at the time, we will revisit their detention pond that is like, needs to be redone.
Yeah, is there, with Cumbies and Besh, they still need to maintain their detention ponds regardless of if they want to build something. And is there anything that we can enforce here?
Yeah, that's a Concom issue.
Okay.
I can bring it up to Pete.
That
But
would
that is
be-
something for the Concom to
I think that'd be
enforce.
good, especially, I mean, both are critical, but Cumbies is also like an eyesore in town. So it's also like, can you just fix that for
Yeah.
people
So-
who live here?
So for future reference, that could be more of a condition for us.
Yeah.
That's something we want to think about as we move forward, that we learn from those moments where we're like,
Definitely.
Yep.
Well, and it was a condition for the new Vesh lot.
right?
Yes.
Yeah. I think
No,
so.
for the new Vesh lot, no, that was not a condition at the time. Fixing the old detention pond, it was they want to put a new detention pond in too. So, but I think that because, I
Yeah,
don't know,
yeah.
that got a little
I
complicated.
thought we
I'm
put
not
something
sure.
in about like a yearly.
Well, it doesn't matter because they're not doing it.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
But
I think
point
one-
taken, Rachel.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
One of the conditions we were looking at for the dog shelter is, to make sure they have the operations and maintenance
Yes.
manual. And I think we are starting to ask people to, as a condition, to turn in the maintenance records annually.
Yeah.
So that we don't end up with these things like Cumbies and Vesh, where they build it and then they
Right.
ignore it.
Well, the peer review did ask about that too, that who is the name of the person managing? This was on the dog
Yeah.
dog shelter, yeah.
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 Yes. Well, and another thing, I mean, that's been really nice since Amy has been with us. She's been doing
Yes.
that, has a spreadsheet, and then also.
Agree. Thank you.
Amy, But,
You,
but no, I think that's really important because, we put conditions on or we want these reports and, we're going to forget about it, but
Well,
it's going to come up as
You too, Bob.
Tickler and Amy's.
You too, Bob. We're putting you on that gold star list. He's still there. He's just ignoring us.
Yeah. But no, I think that's great because, people should report on that. Okay.
Can I just, this is the set right, this is a review. Help me out here. What is it? Is it self
So
report?
I think that was a condition that they have to submit, and this is exactly the kind of thing we're talking about. They have to submit a report every year by March 15th.
So they have all these concerns, like what it is kind of, it's a to-do list of what they need to do.
Yeah.
Whether or not they've done
They've done
I
it.
didn't look at it that, I get the stuff
Okay.
in, I distribute it. I don't
Okay.
really have time to read it.
No, I think it's a before and after.
I see. Okay. All right.
Okay, all right. And I know we did get some review mail. I'm sure everyone has reviewed all the mail from different towns. But, let me think what else. I don't have anything else on the list. Do we have any committee reports? Anything?
This is Andrea, the Open Space Committee met today with the Conservation Commission and a representative from the Department of Conservation and Recreation about preserving 2 pieces of land, maybe 3 pieces, on Pecumtuck Ridge.
Great, oh.
So the good news is that DCR was granted a federal grant to, buy these pieces. And now they're talking to us about help because they got doged. So, so they think they can do one. It'd be Pine Nook Forest North. And the hope had also been to do two pieces, two parcels on Pine Nook Forest South, which is the more expensive of the two. And now, they're looking to see how we can help do this. Open Space Committee, Conservation Commission, and, some grant writing.
Oh, boy.
So, and it is possible that the money will come through because they received a letter in January saying, you're awarded this money, but then stop, full stop.
Well, fingers crossed on that one.
Yes.
I wouldn't hold my breath. That's a tough one.
Yes, because the due date for the application is in July, which means that we can't ask for, CPC money.
Mhm. Okay.
Because it doesn't match.
Out of the cycle.
Okay, I'm trying to think of anything else. Met with the CIPC, and that's a Capital Improvements Plan Committee, and we just went over, I think, everything that's going to come up on the warrant for town meeting. And there are a couple of different CPC applications that I think the CPC has put their rubber stamp on. You know, one would be, I think, a dock at Whately, the Tri-Town Beach, something for the 1888 building. What else? What are the other ones? Oh, and then, of course, open space. There are two different ones for open space.
There's the elementary school playground.
Right, thank you, the elementary school playground, which is pretty substantial.
Right, so the two for the Open Space Committee are a survey of Pecumtuck Rock, because we don't know, parts of it are rented out for
Communications.
communications towers, and no one seems to know
Which parts?
which parts of the land. So there's a survey being done currently, and that's what some of the money went to. And the other is a matching grant for a Mass Trails grant that we submitted. And we haven't not yet heard the results of that.
Okay.
There's one other thing that the Open Space Committee weighed in on that I wanted to share with you. There was a petition to FERCog to discontinue Rice's Ferry Road from River Road to the Connecticut River. And the two farmers whose land, would abut it
To the road, from okay.
River Road to
Yep.
the river.
To the river, yeah. Okay.
Which is basically, at this point, it's really kind of a track.
Yep.
It's a farm track,
Yep.
but it is a public
Byway.
byway.
Mm.
And the Open Space Committee encouraged the Select Board to vote not in favor of discontinuing the road.
Not in favor.
And so the Select Board did agree that there's no reason to discontinue the road. And so FERCog decided it will not be discontinued. That means it will still be a public way.
Mm.
It does have access to the river because it goes to the river. It's one of the only places that's town-owned that goes to the river.
Do people use it?
No, not yet, not now. But what they do is they go onto other people's property and access the river
And this way they-
illegally.
Right, so this way they could use town property to.
Correct. It would have to be, developed. It's
Yeah.
apparently, there's quite I think a ridge or a ledge to get down to the river, but there's this invention called stairs. And so we thought that we would want to hold on to access for that.
Wow, stairs, huh?
Right after
Cutting
the
edge
wheel. I
stuff
think the
here.
wheel was first.
I
stairs
can't
were
believe
second.
Chris left before that.
I know,
I'm out.
I know. Well,
I could have
it's
made
lost.
great copy.
Just a few announcements. At town meeting through Engage Deerfield and also Annette Fennebaker and I think Janice James. We now have childcare at our town meeting, which is great. I think it's ages 4 and up, right?
Mhm.
And that will, I think the select board said we will now have that going into the future, which is great.
That is
So now we just need to get parents with young kids to sign them up. I think we have 5 signed up so far.
6, because I signed up today.
Great. But, you know, we're trying to increase participation in town meetings. So bring a friend or pick a friend up, you know, someone who's elderly, who doesn't want to drive at night.
I mean, I will say that this will be the first meeting my husband's been able to attend since moving here.
And that's important.
So
As a matter of fact, I think it's going to be
my
in the
husband will
gym
be
this
able to
time
attend
too.
because I've always gone and he stayed home.
Yeah.
Because my child is not as hard. Do you remember last time that family, that little boy was an angel for the whole meeting? Unbelievable. My kid would have been a nightmare.
Right, yeah.
And he just walked up and down the aisle.
Yeah. Well, they'll be in a different room and they'll have snacks and entertainment, so they'll be all set.
And what's so cool for parents is it's the out of school time people through the schools. So it's like, it's not like, it's not inexperienced people and it's also familiar people. And because it's in the school and it's the out of school time people, they're Cory checked, there's insurance, like it's just.
Was it engaged?
There's a recorder article. It is on Facebook and it is in Engage, yes.
Yeah, so I put up, you know, those banners that pop up that say, hey, town meeting is next week. I can add that language. So I will write a
And
note to myself.
the elementary school principal's also sending it in the.
How early
announcements.
do you have to sign up ahead of time?
Yeah, you have until the 21st, I believe.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Okay, so that's great. All right, I can't think of anything else.
So, you want me to make a motion? I move that we adjourn. Is
Oh.
Rachel Blaine?
Emily Gaylord, I'll second that.
Okay, let's take a vote.
so
Rachel, Emily.
Yeah.
Ann?
Ann Buchanan, aye.
Satu Solar, aye. Kathy Woodrow, aye.
Emily Gaylord, aye.
Andrea Leibson, aye.
Rachel Blaine, aye.
And Denise Mason, aye. Meeting adjourned. Thank you, everyone.